It seems like AAA gaming can't figure out how to make games instead of political pandering. Maybe Trump needs to sign an executive order so they finally figure this one out.
Like any great gaming company, they're defined by their IP, right? So when you have a AAA gaming company with all the money in the world,
I would say that a great gaming company is not defined by its IP, but instead it's defined by their ability to actually make something good out of an idea. There is a reason why a long time ago we didn't say, oh, Skyrim is good because it's Skyrim. We said, no, Skyrim is a Bethesda game. Because that used to mean something. Because Bethesda represented something. Now, granted, they don't represent that something any longer, but there was a time.
and really exciting IP, say like a Batman or a Harry Potter, all of your imaginations should probably go wild, right? Like this company has the potential to do something special. It's interesting to me that WB Games as a publisher does not find itself in the same conversation that Ubisoft is in or a BioWare is in, where this is a company on the downswing and could easily be shut down or sold off at any moment and likely.
What are you talking about? Warner. Now, granted, there are no current news about Warner Brothers games shutting down, but that's because they are a part of Warner Brothers, not the game studio. And maybe they're already billions in debt, and all of their movies are complete shit. But still, they can afford to be billions in debt at this point because they're Warner Brothers, one of the big things, right? So that's kind of the explanation, and ironically, for it. Because think about it. What has Warner Brother Games succeeded in? Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? No, not at all. The only success that they have had is Hogwarts Legacy. And that's it. Now, granted, this is a pretty big success, but other than that, I can't remember what they have done in the past however many years that has actually mattered. They have failed and shut down more games, by the way. I just can't remember any of them.
He has a few games left in them to start turning things around. Make no mistake, if not for Hogwarts Legacy, WB Games would probably not be existing right now and likely under ownership somewhere else. In fact, this should be no surprise at all if you're.
No. Warner Brother Games are a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. They're not gonna just magically sell their studio or whatever. That's not how this happens.
You're tracking headlines because WB Discovery president and CEO David Zaslav actually quite literally stated their games business is, quote, substantially underperforming its current potential. And they just lost their president after 12 years there, which, I mean, dude, don't let the door hit you on the way out. I mean, when you see what I'm about to cover for you all, I'm surprised this man was employed for as long as he was. But as part of David Haddad's exit, it was described as, quote, thoughtfully and purposefully chosen when the release schedule is lighter, end quote. So effectively, he got canned. They're retooling because they need to start making money. And I know a lot of people focused on Suicide Squad a tremendous amount, but it goes beyond Suicide Squad for WB Games. We'll be talking about, of course, the state of Rocksteady, their premier superhero developer, but we'll be talking about Monolith. We'll be talking about Player First Games, who made MultiVersus. We'll be talking about Avalanche, who made
Oh yeah, MultiVersus is dead. That's one of the ones that I actually remembered but forgot.
Hogwarts Legacy. We'll be talking about NetherRealm a little bit, and so much more in this video. In fact, it's staggering, stunning, just how shit of a spot this company is in. So kick back, grab your favorite snack, a drink. Let's go down the facts here, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, WB Games is taking quite a nosedive. If you want to know what's going on in the industry, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. So, of course, we've got to start our research, our deep dive at Rocksteady. How could you have a conversation about WB Games without talking about Rocksteady? Suicide Squad needs no introduction at all. It was a $200 million flop, as stated.
I mean, it probably does need an introduction because roughly 5 people played it
By WB themselves. And Bloomberg actually reported that this was anticipated by WB execs to be a $1 billion franchise, completely missing the pulse of what people liked Rocksteady for.
Oh god. I'm hearing so much stupid things already, Matty. Please stop, okay? Listen, the fact that this studio previously was known for making Arkham games does not mean that they can not ever do anything but Arkham games. That is just stupid thinking. I don't know how else to honestly put it, buddy. And I mean, Unknown 9 was it supposed to be $1 billion game? There's so many $1 billion games that the idiot executives thought that they're gonna be. Suicide Squad was one of them, obviously. Uh, Concord was one of them, obviously. Dragon Age Railgun was also one of them, obviously. All of these stupid studios are just presuming everything big that they make with a big IP is instantaneously gonna be $1 billion thing. That is so dumb.
Support of the game was terminated January of 2025, and their QA team has been halved in size with more redundancies made beyond that. Now, they're reportedly moving on to a new single-player Batman game, according to Bloomberg once more, and it was once rumored that this was going to be an Arkham Asylum remake, but was then shut down by...
This doesn't matter. You need to understand that the people that are currently at Rocksteady, none of them are responsible for making the old Arkham games great. All of those people are gone. Now Rocksteady is just a bunch of nepo babies that got promoted because the people who actually knew the shit left. That's it. There's no hope. They can make a Batman game, a Batman kitchen simulator. They can make a Harley Quinn strip game. It's probably gonna be shit.
Del Walker, who was the senior character artist on the game. The trick, though, here, and the problem with when you have one really supremely bad brand identity breaking title like a Suicide Squad is that you lose the talent that made Rocksteady great up until that point. Its founders, in Sefton Hill, as well as Jamie Walker, have left Rocksteady at the end of 2022 to form a new team called 100 Star Games, which is made of about 100 or so industry veterans, and we don't know what they're working on yet, but hey man, I really hope it's a superhero game. That would be sick. Bloomberg also stated in their report on the development of Suicide Squad that this title was completely understaffed, and what did infest this studio was a culture of, yes, you've heard this many times before in AAA development, toxic positivity that discouraged criticism. But I think really underneath it all, the real fall from grace for Rocksteady is that after Suicide Squad, while they were trying to figure out what they're going to do next because Suicide Squad wasn't popping off, and Rocksteady does have a lot of brand recognition and the ability to make maybe another great superhero game, who knows, is that they were tasked to go work on the definitive edition for Hogwarts Legacy. Can you imagine that? Going from Arkham City, which I...
What's the point of a definitive edition for shit?
Personally think is right there as the best superhero game ever. Like, you can ask me, some days it'll be Spider-Man 1, but most times Arkham City. To go from that to now making ports and definitive editions for other companies' games is a tremendous fall from grace. I'm rooting for Rocksteady, and to not make it all negative, I will say this. In a time where companies like Ubisoft, BioWare, it feels like people are trying to champion their downfall more than anything. I do...
Yes, I'm one of those people. What should I feel bad for wanting shit companies to just die off? They're going to be replaced. The IPs are not going to be lost. They're going to be sold off. How many chances do I need to give for these absolute woke shit tier companies to fail again? I'm tired. I want results. I don't care how, who, or what. I just want good games.
I do feel like the door is slightly cracked open for Rocksteady to reclaim some of their reputation. When you really look at it objectively, since 2009, they've had one miss, and it was pretty catastrophic. For a lot of people, their worst game before that was Arkham Knight. And if that is your worst game, then you're doing something really well, because that game not only looks beautiful to this day, but I love the story. I love the combat. Like, that game is amazing to me. So if that is your worst game per se, just like when WB ignores the likes of Arkham Origins because it's the worst one and it's amazing, I'm like, you really got not much to worry about there. So I do feel like Rocksteady can grab their identity back, but they got to nail this next game, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, they're working on the Batman game. They always should have. And I don't know if this is the Arkham universe or not. I mean, they kind of reversed some of the endings in a comic that released for Suicide Squad outside of the game that just pretty much went like, it was all a dream, if you will. Stupid, man. Awful. What a waste of time, the fact that I beat that game. Now let's get into the fun one. Monolith, okay? This is a company that I think is really, really interesting, because in 2014 they brought us Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of Mordor slaps in my opinion. You get the Rocksteady free flow combat system with the ability to decapitate fools and the
I'm sorry, when? 2018? Dude, that feels like 20 years ago. You're telling me that's only 7 years? Jesus. I feel bad now.
introduction of one of gaming's most unique mechanics in the Nemesis system. For those who have never played a Shadow of game, we'll call it, War, or something like Mordor, basically the Nemesis system allows you to have meaningful relationships with your enemies. So if you cut someone in the face and they manage to get away as you're being swarmed by enemies, when you meet up again, they're going to call back to what you did to them, and it creates this relationship with your adversaries that is just super, super unique. There's nothing quite like it. And there's a reason there's nothing quite like it that we'll get into. But in 2017, just 3 years later, we got Shadow of War, which was ruined for many people by weirdly shoehorned in microtransactions. These were loot boxes.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That would allow you to get more gear, allow you to get more ore.
Yeah, I mean, why not put in a loot box or 50 in a game that doesn't require them in a single player? I mean, it's worked for Dead Space. Oh, wait, did not.
Works, and it wasn't until 9 months after the game's release that these were fully removed, no doubt after the check had cleared for WB and Monolith. In 2021, WB secured a patent for the signature Nemesis system, ensuring that, unlike almost every other mechanic in gaming, only WB and its family of studios would be able to iterate upon this technology. Now, to be clear, before I go on a little bit further, I don't mind protecting the branding of a technology. For example, Square Enix protected the name HD2D. So when you see something from their family, it is like that is their genre. They have pioneered a new visual genre, and I think that is totally fine. It's a marketing term. When I, as a huge HD2D fan, hear that term, I turn my head. Oh, triangle strategy. Oh, Octopath Traveler. You got it.
I have no idea what the hell he's even talking about.
I'm in, just by art style alone. It's effective, and it works. That is okay. If they protected the name, like, Nemesis system is ours, but the mechanics y'all can mess around with, that's cool with me. But they protected the whole dang thing, so no one can iterate on it. Kind of like what we saw with Pal World.
By the way, that's typically how these things work? What he described with the HD2D thing is a very rare outcome of situations like this. Like, this is the norm, Maddie. Yeah, this is the literal norm of the world.
And Pokemon and throwing a ball and catching a monster in an open field. You can't do that. Only Nintendo can with Pokemon. Anyway, this is a great system that I would love to see pop up more often, but it's not going to, beyond, of course, WB, and it looks like we're going to wait a while longer.
To be fair, they can easily do this. Here's a secret for you. Riot, Valve, with League of Legends and Dota 2. Marvel Snap probably is at least working on this, I would assume, at this point. Blizzard with, well, pretty much any of their matchmaking games. They all have matchmaking patents. FIFA, by the way, has a very, very abusive matchmaking patent. But all of these companies have matchmaking patents, which effectively do the exact same outcome, but through different arbitrary, stupid processes. So the reality is, if someone wants to copy the Nemesis system, they don't need approval of the patent. They just need to find a way to make it unique enough so it doesn't violate the copyright breach. And that should not be that hard, considering League of Legends, Dota, and all of these things have pretty much the exact same principles behind their matchmaking systems, but they get there in different ways, so it is unique. And they have all copywritten their patents on this. So, copying the Nemesis system, not actually hot. No one just wants to do it.
Because in 2021, it was announced that Monolith was working on a Wonder Woman game. And when I first heard this, quite frankly, I struggled to imagine a Wonder Woman game mixing in the Nemesis system. I was like, how do these two work together? Because I feel like if you're going to pioneer...
Oh, God. What is... Oh, I think this is from the Suicide Squad. Because, I mean, look at this. I can see the facial hair. Wow, she has more than me. Jesus. So, Very Vogue, 10 out of 10.
Like, if you're going to pioneer this kind of technology and make it yours, then you're likely going to be the ones leading the charge on iterating upon it. But this is where it gets really annoying.
Wait
in the same report that we learned about a new single-player Batman game being in development at Rocksteady, we also learned that Monolith has ditched the Nemesis system in Wonder Woman for a more traditional, as they call it, action-adventure game, and the game has been rebooted just last year in 2024.
How the hell are you even supposed to use a Nemesis system in like a Wonder Woman game or a Batman game or any kind of these games? It just doesn't work.
And worse,
that's, by the way, also a reason why no one wants to use the Nemesis system, because I mean, you can't really use it for established IPs to a degree. It kind of doesn't work like that. The Nemesis system is great, but it's for kind of a very specific game.
Yet, for WB at least, is that $100 million has already been spent on it. No doubt putting the pressure on this game to overperform, because as much as I'm into a Wonder Woman game and will happily buy and play a Wonder Woman game, I don't know if it's got the broad appeal if, you know, WB's other DC-like experiments, like a Suicide Squad, and how that went.
Oh god, this was Suicide Squad's Wonder Woman. Are you enjoying yourself?
I don't know. It doesn't really, I think, ring a lot of positive bells. It sounds more experimental, but I'm rooting for it. I do like Monolith's games at the end of the day. And worse yet, I think the biggest red flag of all, it lost its game's director. So the person who's overseeing the entire experience and moving it forward, you pluck them out and put someone else in, hence the reboot. And so here we are now with a game that is no doubt years away. So you have Rocksteady in dire straits. You have Monolith in dire straits. And now you got player first with MultiVersus. So when MultiVersus first hit the market...
Wait, isn't this already canceled?
It took over. The player counts were insane, and it was really exciting. As I talked about briefly in a previous video this week, the idea of a platform fighter will always capture the masses. Smash really pioneered that idea, but here comes WB, ironically enough, with their own idea, saying we're going to do 2v2. We have all this IP from Scooby-Doo to Batman to Lord of the Rings that we can pull from, put it all in this big platform fighting game with these cool stages and super attacks and unlockables and progression, and boom, good to go, right?
God, they made all of this so bad and cringe.
So absolutely, they take over when they enter the market. The player base started to fade a little bit, as would any prominent live service game a little bit over.
I'm sorry, a little bit? MultiVersus Steam DB. What do you mean a little bit, essay? What are we talking about here, MultiVersus? A little bit, my ass. Let's look at the ballistics here, Chief. Huh? How about that? I'll start it to fade a goddamn little bit. Okay, wait, sharing my screen now. I just opened the Steam DB. Okay, so here's MultiVersus. Okay, let's look at this. So this is their free something, I think, free key giveaway. Bam! Look at this. By the way, this is literally September 22, right? And look at this. Look at this. It literally just lasted 1 month. It barely lasted from July to August, and then it just nosedive into obliteration. Here is the, what is this, official launch, and bam, look at this. Look at this. Here it almost lasted 2 months, which is amazing, I guess, for a game this shitty. I don't know what they did. Well, I actually know what they did with MultiVersus. They completely messed everything up. They made the progression system super painful and slow. They made character acquisition super bad, which kind of is a part of that, I guess. And they made everything just unreasonably ugly for no reason. It was just really unreasonably bad, and that's pretty much it. That's why the MultiVersus failed. It didn't have a... It dropped like a fucking rock.
Over time, WB completely overreacted to it, slapped a label on the game saying it was a beta, pulled it from the market for over a year to go work on things, fix things.
Yeah, and then they made it first.
Over time, then when they came back, The game barely made any noise at all. If you look at the Steam numbers right now versus the all-time peak, we're talking 153,000 at its all-time peak versus now it can barely crawl over 1,000. And that's with all the WB IP packed into it and plenty of time spent on it. How much money did this cost them? $100 million. It put them another $100 million in the hole. So if you combine what's going on with...
There's no way this actually costed that little. That is... I mean, listen, we live in a time where Prince of Persia 2D platformer costs 200 and something million to make, okay? So the idea that this actually costed so little is insane, okay? There's no way.
Monolith, what's going on with Rocksteady, and what's going on here with MultiVersus, you've got $400 million in the hole. That's awful, dude. That's awful. Even crazier is that 6 months before this earnings report, where you learned that it cost them $100 million, WB Games actually bought the developer of MultiVersus in Player First Games. Recently, we just learned they are shutting down the support for MultiVersus, with the game's offline mode being available for those who desire to play it again, but no doubt this one will eventually be delisted or something. A disappointing end to a game with a absolute metric.
I'm sorry, did they just make Samurai Jack not somehow look like Samurai Jack? That's impressively saddening.
Eventually be delisted or something. A disappointing end to a game with a absolute metric ton of potential. But as you can see here, again, completely mishandled. When you have the zeitgeist, when you have the energy of the crowd, of the audience, and people are just engaging, like, what's this new thing? I want to play it. Oh, it's free? Cool, I'm going to download it. When you take that off the market, even if...
Okay, Maddie, I'm not gonna lie. You being wrong on all of your financial takes is kind of funny to me. But at the same time, I mean, the background music choice of this, like, your shitty 80s aesthetics from old games, is seriously pissing me the fuck off, boy. I ain't gonna lie, this is barely watchable. I mean, how about someone just, you know, dragging nails across the chalkboard? I could honestly survive that way more easily than this retro nonsense background music.
the game has problems, which I'm not acting like MultiVersus was free of problems.
Also, the fact that the audio is, again, constantly way too high is insane.
When you take that off the market, you completely ruin the game's potential. It was one of the worst choices, especially because, I don't know, I was looking it up. I didn't see any mention of, like, this is the beta. We're testing it out. It was like, here you go. Come play. It's good to go. 2013 and now, they've released one game, and it was Gotham Knights. Now, I know some people genuinely like...
I don't know anything about Gotham Knights, but I heard it's like real shit.
Gotham Knights. Look, I'm not trying to poo-poo on anyone's party. If you like Gotham Knights, good. I actually wish I was like that. I did a retrospective on Retro Rebound for it, trying to play it again, and I still think this is one of the worst written games I've personally played in this generation. Not only that, but when it comes to Gotham Knights, I felt like it was immediately a compromised product from the start. You could immediately sense the live service elements it was originally built upon, much like, say, a Veilguard, where you just felt the remnants of that old game, and it was very hard to detach from that. Things like it being kind of an...
No, yeah, I'm done. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays. Jesus Christ, have a nice day. Bye-bye.